Happy Friday, everybody. We made it. What's happening with everyone? Welcome to the Come Together Morning Show. Are we surviving out there?
I feel like if I look hard enough, I can see everyone.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. What's going on?
It is 7:10 a.m. on Friday, April 2nd, if you're watching this live, or if you're watching the replay on Friday, April 2nd, 2020.
If you're not watching this live, this is any time in the future, either near, middle, or a long time from now.
Yeah.
It's possible that you're watching this 1,000 years into the future. And if so,
That's right.
Dang, we made it. The visual representation of us has really transcended through the years. And I'm glad that we look as young as we do
Always
when we
wanted to
have
be a
been dead
hologram.
for over 800 years. Meaning that we live past 200 years in our actual Earth lives.
Maybe it will be like Galaxy Quest, and some really awesome aliens will be watching this.
Ooh, I like that. To all of the planets out there that have yet to be discovered, that are now discovering the Come Together Morning Show, just want to say thank you for joining us. We don't know if your planet experiences emotions and connection and communication in the same way that we do here in the United States on Earth. But we are appreciative that you are studying this as the way that humans once led and talked about counseling, talked about emotions, talked about relationships.
All it.
All it. That's a word that we used in 2020, meaning all of it. Good morning. Hey, everybody. All right, so I've got to get a check-in with everybody. How are we doing
We gotta sing our intro.
You mean the we're better when we come together
Morning show.
with Dr. Teri Murphy.
And Chris Murphy.
Hey, that's us. That and this.
It's right. It's who we are.
Cool.
That's what's happening.
That is what's happening.
That's what's happening.
All right, so how's everybody doing? Are we surviving? Any thoughts, stories, anything that's going on in your world today?
We need to send a big Care Bear stare out to Darlene over on Instagram, who is waiting for her COVID test results back.
Yes.
And that was not information shared with us privately. That was posted publicly. So,
Yeah, good way to say
yeah,
that.
we're all about consent here on the show.
Absolutely.
So,
Morning.
we are sending you lots of love and hope that you get wonderful results. And then also to Darlene's daughter, Robin, who watches the show too,
Yeah.
hope that you feel like lots of big love and support there too. And to all of our workers who are out on the front lines, grocery store workers, postal workers, package delivery, restaurants, small business owners who are still packaging things up and sending them. There's a little shop called Needle and Grain in Columbia, Tennessee that has this elaborate puzzle business going on right now. It's not the only thing they do, but everyone has gone wild for puzzles.
Yeah.
There's this beautiful national parks one that I hope that they order, that we can get. But and then, you know, to people who are sick, not just with COVID, which of course we send lots of love to you too, but to people who are sick with everything, who might worry about if there's going to be something that happens, a flare up in the next couple of weeks, you know, when hospital systems, medical systems are already overtaxed. We're thinking about you, praying for you. And if you are one of the people who are privileged or fortunate enough to have any sort of spare financial means and you're moved, you know, think about donating even $5 to an organization who is helping people out who can't pay their bills or are having trouble with groceries or anything. Anything is better than nothing. I sometimes get locked up if I'm like, well, I don't have like an extra $10,000, like a movie star or something that I can donate, but I can give $100. You know, I can give a little bit that is going to make a huge difference in someone else's life. Like, I know that we've seen a lot of really awful news and people disregarding mandates to stay home, but I want to say I've also seen a lot of beauty and a lot of ways that people are helping each other, a lot of ways that people are showing up and meeting each other's needs. That's what we're doing here. It was what we were doing before the pandemic, of wanting to come together. It's the name of our show, wanting to come together, connect, and make sure that you have a place you can get mental health tools, even if you're not necessarily at the level that you're going to therapy, that sort of thing. You can at least come here, connect with other people who are also trying to learn and connect and be the best versions of ourselves that we can be. So you're welcome here, and you certainly can talk here about those things.
That's awesome.
Leslie's saying, last week I heard this, do for one what you wish you could do for all. Yeah. Mother Teresa said that too.
Well said.
Right? You want to help, you want to become a helper, start with the person next to you. Right? Start with the person who is right next to you and help that person. And luckily, in this way that we have internet. I don't know what would happen if all of our internet went down right now. That would be weird, wouldn't it?
It would be weird.
So internet workers, that sort of thing, thank you also, because I think that a lot of people are still finding ways to be socially connected, even as we're socially distancing in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Chris has asked this question every day, and you want to ask about our scaling?
Absolutely. So what we've been doing recently is we've just been checking in with everybody and a quick answer over on Instagram and on Facebook as well. So I'd love to hear from you all. How are you doing on a scale of 1 to 10 today with all of this physical, social distancing, working from home, having to go into work at other places? How are you doing holding up with family being closer or not being able to reach out to those and literally touch the people that you usually would be hugging their necks or spending time with? Go from 1 to 10. So 1 being not so good, 10 being awesome. And if you've been riding the wave of 1 hour I'm a 4, the next hour I'm an 8, and then I go back down to a 1, we put a surf emoji in there. So where are you at? Over on Facebook? See some stuff coming in on Instagram.
Facebook was acting a little weird earlier.
Yeah.
We were acting weird towards it, and it rejected us.
Oh, it did? When was this morning?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. I do see that some people are watching, but I'm not seeing any responses yet.
I don't know.
But over on Instagram, we've got a 4, a 6, a 7. Where are you at today?
I don't know, maybe like a 5. I'm really tired. I have not slept well in like 2 weeks. Oh no, you're almost out of coffee. That is devastating.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're both drinking. We both drink every morning too. This is the mug I posted about in the Come Together morning group, or the Come Together Facebook group. Actually, I can.
Can you show it over on Facebook as well? Actually, I can. Yeah, I think that I'm right at the middle of the road. I'm a 5 as well.
I could tip in either direction, I think. I'm looking forward to my meditation and practice this morning. I just feel grumpy and tired, to be honest. Like, I kind of want to yell at a pigeon. It's that level of feelings. Yeah.
Okay, so if you could yell at a pigeon, what would you say to it right now? Like maybe not.
No, I wouldn't say words. I mean, literally just guttural primal yells. Because here's what I know about pigeons. They don't speak English.
Most of them don't.
And
they're mostly Portuguese, right?
What I really want to do is scream near a pigeon because I don't want to hurt its feelings or scare it really.
Yeah.
But we don't have pigeons here. Good morning, Caitlin. You could be a 2 or a 10 within minutes. That makes so much sense though, right? Because what's really tough, I think, about times like this is we're getting an influx of information that we don't quite know what to do with all of it yet or how to feel about it, and you can't quite catch your breath. So when I was little, we lived really close to the Gulf Coast, and it was like a 2.5, 3 hour drive depending on how much your parents were willing to break speed limits, and if you got stuck in Foley and given a speeding ticket on your way down.
Or if you just needed to go shop at the outlet malls on the way down to the beach.
We were really close. So our family spent time every summer at one of the Gulf Coast beaches, which I am biased, but I think they're the most beautiful beaches in the world. So when I would go when I was little, I loved playing in the waves, but occasionally, even though the Gulf has not got quite as huge of waves as the Pacific Ocean or out near Hawaii or anything, sometimes the waves would get really big. And I would get out there, and I didn't use bodyboards. We just surfed with our own actual bodies a little bit and would just swim and play. Well, occasionally you would get crashed over by a wave and tumble in towards the shore. and I would come up and try and get air, but if there were multiple waves in a row, what it would feel like is before you could even really completely come up for air, more waves are crashing and waves are crashing.
I know that feeling.
And then that was like the panicky sort of feeling in that place. So what this feels like to me is something so similar to that. Before I can even get my bearings with the last crash of information or new news or new feeling that I've had, before I can even completely get my breath, I get another crash, another wave that sends me rolling. And I wonder, like, am I ever going to stop being crashed on? Right? Because it's not even just the feeling I'm feeling, it's the not knowing when I'm going to stop feeling all of this up and down and crashing feeling. That's part of our collective anxiety. It's not just that our entire world has shifted, which if it was just an event that shifted our whole world would be enough for all of us to be feeling this collective anxiety. For example, like 9/11. After 9/11 happened, Americans in particular felt incredibly anxious. But this is even different than that because it isn't just impacting a few people or one country or one continent. It is everywhere, right? Everybody is experiencing this. Maybe not Antarctica.
Yeah, I don't think there are any cases in Antarctica at this point, no.
I don't think so, but I don't actually know that. Does anybody know that? I want to go to Antarctica. I think Mary Love wants to go to Antarctica too. Hi, Mary Love. So what I want to say is if you're riding waves and your numbers, like if you're kind of just checking in with yourself, where am I today, are bouncing all over the place, even minute to minute. I've not even had a day where my numbers have been the same. In a day, I go up and down from bored to mad to sad to scared to, oh, I feel pretty great. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? I'm all over the place, man. That's why I always put the surfer emoji when I'm checking in.
Yeah.
Stella's saying worse than 9/11 because it impacts everyone in the world and hospitals are not prepared for it. Yeah, exactly. Right. So our fear is, I think, I don't want to be like negative Nancy over here, but I think it's actually going to get scarier before it gets better.
Yeah.
Caitlin said I had to go to Target yesterday and it wrecked me for the rest of the day. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's like grief hits us again when we try to go do a thing that was normal, typical, like especially those things. Like we didn't even think about it. Just pop by somewhere on our way from some other place that we were. Can't do it.
Yeah.
I brought my plants home from my office because I love them, thinking it would be like, I don't want them to be there for 2 weeks without me getting to be there. But I'm like, there's other stuff. There's water in my Keurig. I'm gonna have to throw my Keurig away before I go back to it. Things I never really thought about. And as we're talking about the stages of grief, every time you realize a new thing like that, you're gonna have another round of grief and what that looks like and having to let go of things every single time. It's just like losing someone. Like you have to go all the way through a whole calendar year at least one time. And then again, at every single life event that person would have been with you for those things, you grieve it again.
Can I say also that sometimes like I get stir crazy being at home and wanting to go and do something, and so that gives its own level of anxiety. And then for the last couple of weeks I've been the one to like go out and get the groceries and do that kind of stuff while Teri is at home, oftentimes seeing clients, making sure the kids are okay. And so then I finally get to go out, and when I'm out, the whole environment that I'm in, the people that I'm around, I can feel the anxiousness off of them as well, and they can most likely feel the anxiousness off of me. And so that's also anxiety inducing. And it's also this kind of morose, everybody's down, everybody's kind of looking at each other from a distance. Even so that, like, finally getting what I am asking for, which is I just want to get out for a bit. I go
like
and do that, and then it feels like that is not okay either. And so it's like,
with you.
Yeah. And so sometimes for me, like an issue like 9/11 that was absolutely world changing and devastating, it was almost, in retrospect, it almost feels like ripping off a Band-Aid. Like it happened in a matter, like especially with all of the planes and not knowing.
It was an hour of not knowing.
It was fear. It was all of that. But then in a matter of hours, and then in a couple of days, like things started to die down as far as like the feeling of a real threat, at least where we were in a part of the country that wasn't DC or New York City. Or Pennsylvania. Yeah, so that started to die down, and like in retrospect, it almost feels like ripping off a Band-Aid. Now it's like, I'm thinking back to what it felt like a month ago of like, what is this stuff? Why is everybody acting like this? And just this slow...
Do you remember?
Like it just continues to build, and it continues for the fear, and some people are now on the back end of it. Like, remember when Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson had it? And now they're okay and moving on, and that's amazing, but like, and it's just every day we get this onslaught of new things, and the hockey stick effect of the statistics keep going up. It's a lot every day.
Here's the thing too, and Darlene just mentioned this, that is horrifying. Our worst fear typically is dying alone with no one there. Like, we talk about that sometimes, like it seems so morbid now, but like, what do you want your deathbed to be like? You know, surrounded by people you love, looking at you, sharing their deepest feelings and how they care about you and the impact that you've made on people's lives, like your grandchildren, all of that. With COVID, if that's what you're dying of, no one can be there with you. And doctors and nurses are so overworked, overtasked, that probably they're not even going to be able to be there. Maybe they will, but they might not even be there to hold your hand. This is unlike anything we've ever been through, right? And so it's like sometimes we can't even go there. That's what denial is for. And I do not want you for 1 second to feel guilt or shame if sometimes it's too much and you need to escape and watch Tiger King, or you need to eat some Skittles, or you need to go to take a nap, or just pour yourself into work for a little bit. Whatever the thing is that you need for a minute, because the work is hard and we can't sustain it being all in all the time. You will burn yourself out. It is a lot, right? And so I just want you to know that you have permission. You don't need it from me. You need it from yourself to be exactly where you are, and that can be a moving thing. You can move around in what you're able to do. Sometimes I am able to move in, donate money, look at causes. Sometimes it is just too much. I can't read one more thing. I cannot talk about it for one more second. And I have to give myself an emotional breather. And what I tend to want to do is to go sit by water, right? And talk to God and check in with myself. And I'll say, like, whether or not you're a person of faith, this feels risky, but I'm going to say it anyway. Whether or not you're a person of faith, having some sort of grounding, spiritual type exercise that you can engage in that helps you to know you're connected to others and something bigger than yourself, that you're not actually completely, absolutely alone, can be incredibly helpful for you, whatever that looks like. I'm not here to try and tell anybody what that needs to look like. I'm just talking about it from a science and research perspective as well, so that we know if you have some sort of practice that is greater than what you are, even if it's like Qigong or yoga or meditation, mindfulness, that doesn't have like a faith piece, but that is something that helps you outside your physical brain and body. It is incredibly helpful. I'm missing some of these comments. Mary Love says, yes, I normally would make eye contact and smile with strangers, but now it's too stressful. Yes. Because what we're seeing is two things at the same time: the longing to connect and the terror. That, are you threat or are you comfort? And used to, we would just assume, like we do assume the best in people. That's children, that's everyone. We tend to assume the best in people. But right now, we've been told everyone could be secretly deadly, and you will not know who it is. That's real, right? Yeah. That's grief. I don't like having to think that way. I don't like being mad when, again, yesterday, they're having Shirts and Skins basketball in our neighborhood. And I would call the police, but I don't want to tax our police system with them coming out and messing with crap like that. Stay the F home, man. Yeah. Right? Because of this.
I keep getting angry at myself in these moments because I need to go escape. And so I'll go watch something on YouTube. And then something in my brain says, like, The person on that YouTube video, when they filmed it like 3 months ago or a
don't
year
know
ago,
what
they don't know what's going on right now. And then I get mad at the fact that I'm watching somebody like blissfully walk around without the knowledge of
Yes.
COVID-19.
Yes.
So like it's
That's
it's
a
like,
stage of grief. That's anger. That's a perfect example of anger. But there's no shame in that. Like, that is like, yes. Or even looking at yourself, like, why did I just walk around or spend money on that dumb thing when this global pandemic, like, did I really need that pack of, reusable straws? Where am I going? What am I doing?
Yeah, no,
Right?
I feel you.
Of course. Stella's saying, for Asians like me, we not only have to worry about social distancing, but also worry about discrimination and xenophobia. So it's really traumatizing. I'm processing myself and helping clients with this. 100%. 100%. It is very real, and it is not okay. And what people do with their fear is they find someone to blame and then project all of their fear and rage and hate, all of that onto, and we have a horrible history of doing this as human beings, of choosing a people group and blaming them and hating them and treating them differently. And it is systemically going to be traumatizing as well. I'm so sorry. I have no idea what that feels like. I know what it feels like to be female and to have some of those sort of issues. It is not the same as being racially profiled and treated horribly and discriminated against. It is not okay.
So sorry.
It is not okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, check in with your Asian friends. Just send messages, and your Indigenous friends and your friends of color and your LGBTQIA friends who might not have people that they're able to connect with, who may be in homes where they're not fine. Our friends, exactly, Stella, thank you, who are going into workplaces, even virtually, and might be being treated differently now. So there are layers of this, y'all. There are layers of this, and we're not all suffering at the same level or experiencing the same things. Dude, that's okay. That's part of the deal.
That's angering to me, and I'm sitting over here
it's
trying
not
not
fine.
to yell. But
Do you want to yell at a pigeon?
Yeah, I do. But I want
Hear
you
a
to know
pigeon.
that I'm here and I'm sorry. Other than getting on my soapbox and getting pissed off and yelling, I just want to say I'm sorry.
Yeah, and just a little helpful thing in some of my anti-racist work that I've done for myself, and I don't feel like I'm in a position to really teach anyone about that. I would say go to Indigenous authors and authors who are people of color to get that information. Caitlin Curtis is a great person. Go follow her on Instagram. Her book Native is coming out in May. Get it, order it, have it at home, have it ready to read. I love Austin Channing. I love there's just a bunch of people that you can read, and I would say don't ask your Indigenous or person of color friends to do that work for you. That's our work to do. So go and find that work and listen and read. Like, my position still is to definitely act, but to try and do that in a way that doesn't center myself. So listen, read, do that. Caitlin Curtis, KAITLIN CURTICE on Twitter and Instagram. Her Instagram's beautiful and amazing, but she's a brilliant writer. So if you want more of her words, check her out on Twitter too. And definitely order her book. And then I love Austin Channing as well. She's been sharing beautiful resources. And then Morgan Harper Nichols is maybe one of my favorite artists. You can go and support her work. She's sharing like such positive, beautiful posts around things like that. But this is horrifying what we're in. I also think in crisis there's this opportunity for us to kind of like clean out your closet in a way. Like, I don't have anything else to do. I might as well clean that closet out, but I'm talking about it metaphorically. Pull all of that shit out. Go through everything. And before you start just putting everything back in, maybe think about what things you want to put back in and maybe what things you really need. Right? So go through your life and think about, like, this is the opportunity to shift the way that we do things. Like, we have a chance here to shift the way that we look at people who've been broke, who are poor, who have been manipulated. I mean, I just keep thinking, like, this is a disease that's been spread around by a lot of rich people who are traveling around the world, and the people who are suffering the most, 40% of the people who have died in the United States are Black people. men and women, right? So like inordinately a higher amount of people who don't have health care, who don't have the ability to care for themselves, who are poor, who are broke, who have been victimized by systematic institutionalized racism are going to be more predominantly impacted just as always. And like, this is jacked up. What about health care? People not having that, you know, I just can't not think about that. Yes. Thank you, Stella. Yeah. I so appreciate it. And thank you for bringing that up. Your voice matters here, right? We want to hear what you have to say. And, you know, I definitely want to say I'm still learning. I'm a work in progress for sure. And invite any sort of correction if that needs to happen. For sure. Anything that you want to say to you before we head into stages of grief? We're talking about the stages of grief, the 5 stages, and today is our last day. We're going to talk about acceptance.
Yeah. So let's just a quick recap on where we've been for the last 4 or 5 days. On Monday, we wanted to talk about the stages of grief and why that's important to talk about right now, because it's as if the whole world is going through the stages of grief. And although it was initially created as a way for people to walk through their grief with the loss of a loved one or the loss of something important to them, it's been able to be extrapolated across a lot of different ways that we experience life. And just these stages of grief are actually the stages that we just deal with loss in general. Maybe not the loss of a person or the loss of a livelihood for ourselves, but just loss in general. And right now with COVID-19, we're dealing...
Everyone has loss.
Yeah, we're dealing with the loss of just the way things were, all the way through, like the little small things, like I was saying, like I like talking to people at the grocery store, and it's not something that is really a possibility right now. So on the scale, that's pretty small, but it also, like, I have to mourn that right now. And then there's everything all the way up through actually losing a loved one or losing your own health. So with all that being said, we thought it was very important to talk about that this week and go through the different stages each day. So the first day, Monday, we talked about denial. And then on Tuesday, Teri talked about anger. And then on Wednesday, we talked about bargaining. Yesterday, we talked about, why am I blanking this morning? Depression, thank you. And today we're talking about acceptance. And so going through each stage of, so for me, I don't think that at this point, this stage in the game, I am really at a place of acceptance at all. Or at least not today. I feel like that I'm definitely on that wave right now because...
You've accepted some things, I think.
Yeah, well, but in general, I think that I'm still fluctuating a lot. And so maybe I am a bit, but again, this is not linear. Like we mentioned yesterday. It was a good question that was presented over on Instagram, I believe.
Not linear. Linear meaning you go from one stage to the next, like train stops. Yeah. This is like, it's a hot mess. Just think about that. Grief is just like, it's a hot mess.
Yeah, and so sometimes you could be going through a stage of grief with one thing, and especially in these days, then you're hit with something else that you then have to...
The waves crashing.
Yeah, you have to figure out. So it's a moving target, and it's moving. So that's why every day we get on here and we ask where you are currently on a scale of 1 to 10. Because
you can do that for
it's
yourself
all over
throughout
the place.
The day. If you're like, why am I feeling weird or whatever, just check in.
Yeah.
Just check in. Okay, so what is acceptance? Let's talk about that. You finished?
Yeah.
Okay. So acceptance is this, it's like the goal basically of grief, even though you can't rush acceptance. You can't just jump straight to it. That's actually denial. If you're like, I'm fine, this is fine, everything is fine, we're good. That's actually not acceptance. Acceptance is not saying all of this is okay. That's not what that means. It's like if you lose someone, if someone passes away that you really care about, it's not saying, oh, I'm good, I'm never sad again, I'm never have any sort of memories or nostalgia or any of that. That is not what that means. Acceptance just means that you are able to process through whatever that part of your grief is. It doesn't even have to be the whole thing. You don't even have to make sense of all of it, though that can be part of the grieving process. what it means is you're no longer clinging on to the hope that things could be the way they used to be, that you don't have to change, or that the world isn't really changing, or that you'll get to hold on to some semblance of what was normal before. Acceptance is saying none of it's going to really be the same. Everything has changed. It's all different. I'm changing. My partner's changing. My kids are changing. The people everywhere are going through a change process, and the world is going to look different on the other side. How I show up is going to look different on the other side. Things are just going to be different. That's really the work of acceptance, is letting go, which the depression stage that comes right before acceptance, even though, again, it's not necessarily linear, anger can help us accept. Depression can help us accept. Bargaining is part of the acceptance process too, right? Like if I stay in my house and if I listen to all of the rules, then maybe we won't suffer as badly as a culture, and then it will be easier to kind of come out of this, right? Because then guilt isn't going to be a block.
One of the important things that I looking at this is a human experience, this grief process. And so to try to be forgiving to those who aren't at the exact stage you are, have some patience, have some empathy, have some compassion for those that aren't exactly where you are, and then just understand we're all fluctuating, as you're saying. And so sometimes a person or you really needs to feel that anger in order to move on. They have to, it's a stage because it's a process that we're going through.
Yeah.
Some people have to feel that depression. So let's all try to be as patient as we can, knowing that we're all trying to move through at our own pace.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can get some acceptance about one thing while you're also in denial or anger or bargaining about another thing.
Yeah.
Right? So like I'm staying pretty significantly in anger when I see the people playing basketball. I've talked about it every day for 2 weeks, maybe longer. Yeah. And I don't know what I'm going to do. I probably am going to do something. Like I can't go over there and confront anybody because I can't get close enough to them and their children. Like if it was parents, I don't know. I think it would be different. And then, I'm in sadness about some other things too. We are on a marathon roller coaster. That's true. It's like the roller coaster you thought you were going to get on and it would be 3 minutes, and you're still riding it after the park is closed and no one's running the machine and you cannot get off.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Like I guess I live here. I can't get snacks. Like we were saying the other day, like we were eating chips and we're getting to the end of the bag and it's like, oh my God, we're gonna be out of chips. Like I've never been so afraid of being out of chips before. Yeah. I don't even really, like I love chips, but they're not even my favorite food. But I was like, I will eat one chip today. I'm gonna ration this chip. And then like laughing about the fact that that's happening and also feeling really sad. And then thinking about the worker who's risking his life to go and put chips in a bag and ship them and whatever. Like
so many layers,
gosh.
man.
Yeah. So,
or
P.S. If you're thank you. If you're feeling all the things, it's okay. For real. I love this metaphor of a roller coaster, Stella. That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's just perfect. Okay, I've got to go to work. I love you very much. I probably should wash my hair at some point. I don't know though. You guys can't smell me from here, so.
I can smell.
Hey, you'd be nice.
I will be nice, but I can smell. I smell coffee.
Coffee smells wonderful.
You always smell delightful, my dear.
Thank you.
Like a petunia.
Here's next week. Next week, what we're going to talk about is relationships. How you relate to the people that you're quarantined with, to your partner, to your long distance relationship, if you've gone through a breakup, if you are currently partnered or parent or single or alone in your house, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about how relationships have shifted and some helpful tools around this too, okay? So I hope that you join us. If you know anyone that would be benefited from this morning's show, we would love for you to share that with people. I'm uploading the videos every day to YouTube as well. You can just Google either of our names and Come Together, and you'll be able to find our videos there. And then I'll be going back also through time and uploading earlier videos, that sort of thing too. But right now I'm at least doing the ones that we do every day. Thank you so much for being here. It means the world to us. You are certainly welcome to join our Facebook group, Come Together. It's just facebook.com/groups/Come Together group. And we love you. We care about you. Hope that we get to see you next week.
Thank you for being with us this week, talking about the stages of grief. You got this. Go enjoy your weekend. Breathe deep. Find a body of water if you can.
It's okay to scream on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say
or
that.
at a pigeon, apparently. Yeah.
It works.
We love you guys.
Bye, everyone. Have a great weekend. See you Monday.